Okay, so you want to own a donut shop. The smell of fresh glazed donuts at 5 a.m. The morning rush of regulars grabbing coffee and a dozen mixed lines out the door on weekends. Glass cases full of colorful frosted rings. You are up early, but you are done by noon. The product costs pennies to make and sells for dollars. Loyal customers, simple operations, cash flowing daily. Sounds like the perfect small business. And honestly, from the outside, it really does look that way. But here is what people who actually own successful donut shops know, and what most people dreaming about opening a bakery never tell you. A donut shop is not a retail store that happens to sell pastries. It is a high-volume, time-sensitive manufacturing operation disguised as a neighborhood café, where your entire revenue is concentrated into a 4-hour window every morning, where your product has a 12-hour shelf life before it becomes worthless, where you are competing against Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme, and every grocery store bakery within 5 miles, and where the romanticized baker's lifestyle means waking up at 3 a.m., 7 days a week, for years. The margins are real. The grind is real, in ways that most people never see coming. Let's start at the beginning. When people say donut shop, they are usually picturing one thing. A small storefront, 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, with a production kitchen in the back and a customer-facing retail area in the front. Glass display cases showing 20 to 40 varieties of donuts, fritters, bars, twists, and filled pastries. A coffee station serving drip coffee, espresso drinks, maybe some breakfast sandwiches. Open early, 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., closing by early afternoon, 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., once the donuts sell out. That is the classic independent donut shop format. You make everything fresh on site starting at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. By opening time, your cases are fully stocked. The morning rush hits between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Office workers, commuters, parents dropping kids at school, construction crews. By 11 a.m., traffic slows dramatically. By 1 p.m., you are selling whatever is left at a discount or closing for the day. The entire business model is built on capturing maximum volume during a narrow morning window and operating with minimal waste. Here is something that surprises people when they first look at this industry. The United States has approximately 7,000 to 10,000 donut shops currently operating. Dunkin, the largest chain, operates over 9,000 locations nationwide, but many are not traditional donut shops anymore. They are beverage-focused quick-service restaurants that happen to sell donuts made off-site and delivered frozen. Krispy Kreme operates about 370 company-owned stores in the U.S. and roughly 1,000 plus total, including franchises and retail partners. The rest of the market is independent operators, regional chains, and ethnic donut shops, particularly Cambodian-owned shops which dominate the independent donut market in California and several other states. The industry generates roughly $7 to $8 billion in annual revenue, but that is increasingly concentrated in large chains and grocery store in-house bakeries. The independent donut shop, the neighborhood spot making everything from scratch, is a shrinking segment fighting against cheaper alternatives and changing breakfast habits. Here is the competitive reality. Starbucks does not sell donuts, but they sell breakfast pastries and captured the premium morning coffee customer. Dunkin sells coffee and donuts cheaper than most independents can match because of purchasing scale. Your local grocery store sells a dozen donuts for $4.99, baked in-store from frozen dough. Gas stations sell packaged donuts for $1. You are competing on freshness, quality, variety, and local identity against competitors with dramatically lower costs and vastly larger marketing budgets. This is the market you are entering. Before you spend a single dollar, you need a location, and donut shops have very specific real estate requirements. You need morning commuter traffic, a location on the way to work, near residential neighborhoods, office parks, schools, or industrial areas where people pass by on their morning routine. You are not a destination. You are a convenience stop. If you are not on the route people already drive, they will not go out of their way for you. You need visibility and easy access. A corner location with a traffic light is ideal. People sitting at the light see your shop, smell the donuts if your ventilation is positioned right, and make an impulse decision. Drive-thru is a massive advantage. Roughly 60% to 70% of morning donut sales in successful shops come through the drive-thru window. Customers do not want to park, get out, wait in line, and get back in their car. They want speed. You need 1,200 to 2,000 square feet. About 40% for customer area, front counter, seating for 6 to 12 people, display cases. The other 60% is production kitchen, storage, prep area, dish area, and a small office. A small retail space in a decent suburban strip mall or standalone building with drive-thru capability rents for $2,500 to $6,000 per month, depending on the market. In high-traffic urban areas or premium suburban locations, $4,500 to $9,000 per month. Let's call it $4,000 per month, $48,000 annually. Most landlords require a 5-year lease minimum with personal guarantee. First month, last month, and 2 months security deposit up front. That is $16,000 before you have installed a single piece of equipment. Now comes the build-out. If you are lucky, you are moving into a former bakery or café and most of the infrastructure is already there. More likely, you are converting a generic retail space into a commercial bakery, and that means serious construction. You need a commercial kitchen that meets health department requirements. 3-compartment sink for washing, rinsing, and sanitizing, separate hand wash sink, prep sinks, mop sink, floor drains, non-porous walls and floors, grease traps if you are frying. Kitchen build-out in a raw space, $30,000 to $70,000. You need ventilation. A Type 1 commercial hood system with fire suppression over your fryers and ovens. This is required by code. Hood, ductwork, exhaust fan, makeup air system, fire suppression, installed, $20,000 to $50,000 depending on the size and complexity. You need equipment. This is where donut shops differ dramatically from other food businesses. You are not just cooking, you are manufacturing from raw ingredients. A commercial donut fryer, automatic or semi-automatic, single or double-sided, $8,000 to $25,000. Smaller shops use tabletop fryers at $3,000 to $8,000, but capacity is limited. A commercial proofing cabinet where dough rises before frying, $2,500 to $7,000. A commercial dough mixer, planetary or spiral, 40 to 80 quart capacity, $3,000 to $10,000. Commercial refrigeration for ingredients, walk-in cooler or large reach-in units, $5,000 to $15,000. Freezer for bulk ingredients and backup storage, $2,500 to $6,000. Display cases, refrigerated and non-refrigerated, for showcasing finished donuts, $4,000 to $12,000. Work tables, stainless steel prep surfaces, shelving, rolling racks for holding trays of donuts, $3,000 to $7,000. Glazing equipment, icing warmers, decorating stations, $2,000 to $5,000. Espresso machine if you are serious about coffee, $5,000 to $15,000, or a simple drip coffee setup, $800 to $2,000. Smallwares, sheet pans, cooling racks, cutters, rolling pins, thermometers, utensils, piping bags, $2,500 to $5,000. POS system, cash register, card readers, back-office software, $2,000 to $5,000. Total equipment cost for a small to mid-sized donut shop, buying mostly new equipment, $50,000 to $120,000. If you are extremely budget-conscious and buy used equipment, you can cut that to $30,000 to $60,000, but you are inheriting older technology and higher maintenance risk. Then come the finishing touches. Interior build-out, flooring, painting, lighting, seating, counters, menu boards, $15,000 to $40,000. Signage, exterior and interior, $5,000 to $15,000. Permits, health department inspections, business licenses, $2,000 to $5,000. Initial inventory of ingredients, packaging, supplies, $5,000 to $10,000. Pre-opening marketing, grand opening promotions, local advertising, social media setup, $3,000 to $8,000. Total investment to open an independent donut shop from scratch, $150,000 to $300,000 depending on location, size, and whether you are building out a raw space or taking over an existing food location. If you franchise with a brand like Dunkin or a regional chain, the initial franchise fee is $40,000 to $90,000. Total investment including build-out runs $250,000 to $1.5 million depending on format, and you pay 5% to 6% ongoing royalties plus 5% advertising fees on gross sales. You get brand recognition and operational systems, but you surrender 10% to 11% of your revenue forever. Most independent operators go the non-franchise route because they want to keep that 10%, they want creative control over recipes, and they believe their local reputation can compete with a chain name. Now let's talk about the economics of actually making and selling donuts. A standard yeast-raised glazed donut costs you about 12 cents to 18 cents to produce. That includes flour, yeast, sugar, milk, eggs, oil for frying, and glaze. You sell it for $1 to $1.50. Your gross margin is 85% to 92%. A filled donut, Boston cream, or jelly costs you about 22 cents to 30 cents. You sell it for $1.50 to $2.25. Gross margin, 85% to 90%. A specialty donut with premium toppings, candy pieces, flavored icing, costs you 35 cents to 55 cents. You sell it for $2 to $3.50. Gross margin, 80% to 85%. Coffee, a 12-ounce cup, costs you 15 cents to 25 cents in beans, cup, lid. You sell it for $1.50 to $2.50. Gross margin, 85% to 90%. This is why donut shops look so attractive on paper. The product cost is absurdly low. The markup is huge. If you sell 1,000 donuts in a day at an average of $1.40 each, that is $1,400 in revenue on $180 in product cost. But here is what those margins do not account for: labor, rent, utilities, waste, and the fact that you cannot sell every donut you make. Let's talk about production. You need to start production by 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. to have fresh donuts ready by opening at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. That means someone, usually the owner or a baker, is in the shop by 2:30 a.m. or 3:30 a.m. You mix dough, proof it, cut it, fry it, glaze it, decorate it. Depending on volume and efficiency, you are producing 30 to 80 dozen donuts, 360 to 960 individual pieces, in a 3 to 4 hour prep window. If you are the owner doing the baking yourself, you are working for free in terms of direct wages, but your time has value. If you hire a baker, you are paying $16 to $22 per hour for skilled labor. A morning baker working 3 a.m. to 11 a.m., 8 hours, 6 days a week, costs you $4,992 to $6,864 per month, $60,000 to $82,000 annually. You need front counter staff during operating hours. If you are open 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., 8 hours, 7 days a week, that is 56 hours per week. At $14 to $17 per hour, that is $784 to $952 per week, $40,768 to $49,504 annually. Many owners work the counter themselves to save this cost. Small donut shops often operate with the owner as baker and one part-time counter person. Total paid labor, $20,000 to $35,000 annually. The owner is working 60 to 80 hours per week but keeping labor costs down. Larger, more successful shops have a dedicated baker, 2 counter staff in shifts, and the owner managing operations, ordering, finances, and marketing. Total labor, $90,000 to $140,000 annually. Now the waste problem. You have to produce enough donuts to avoid selling out early, because if customers come at 9 a.m. and you are out of glazed donuts, you lose the sale and damage your reputation. But if you overproduce, unsold donuts at the end of the day are a total loss. Donuts do not hold quality overnight. Some shops sell day-old at a discount, but margins evaporate. Most shops donate unsold donuts, write them off, or throw them away. Industry standard waste is 8% to 15% of production on a normal day. On slow days, 20% to 30%. You baked 600 donuts, sold 500, and threw away 100. You lost $18 to $30 in product cost plus the labor to make them. Over a year, waste consumes 2% to 4% of your gross revenue. At $400,000 in annual sales, that is $8,000 to $16,000 in lost product. Let's model the revenue. A small donut shop in a decent location, doing moderate business, sells 400 to 700 donuts per day, 6 days a week. Sunday is either closed or much slower. Let's say 500 donuts per day average, 6 days, 3,000 donuts per week, 156,000 donuts per year. At an average price of $1.40 per donut, that is $218,400 in donut revenue. Add coffee and other beverages. If 60% of donut customers also buy a coffee at an average of $2, that is 93,600 coffees at $2. Another $187,200. Total revenue, $405,600 annually. But here is the problem. Not every shop hits those numbers. Competition, location quality, and marketing execution matter enormously. A shop in a weak location might sell 250 donuts per day. A shop in a premium location with a drive-thru might sell 1,200 donuts per day. Let's run the full cost structure on a shop doing $400,000 annually. Cost of goods sold. Ingredients for donuts, coffee, cream, sugar, packaging, napkins, cups, lids, bags. Industry average is 18% to 25% of revenue for a well-run operation. At 22%, that is $88,000. Labor, if you are paying a baker and counter staff $100,000. If you are working as the baker yourself and have one part-time person, $25,000 in paid labor. Let's use $100,000 for a model where the owner is not doing the 3 a.m. shift. Rent, $48,000. Utilities, gas for fryers and ovens, electric for refrigeration and lights, water, trash, $1,200 to $2,500 per month. Annually, $18,000 to $30,000. Call it $24,000. Insurance, general liability, property, workers' comp if you have employees, $8,000 to $15,000 annually. Repairs and maintenance, fryer maintenance, mixer repairs, refrigeration service, plumbing, $4,000 to $10,000 annually. Marketing and advertising, local ads, social media, loyalty programs, promotions, $6,000 to $18,000 annually. Credit card processing fees, roughly 2.5% to 3% of revenue, $10,000 to $12,000. POS software, accounting, website, $1,200 to $3,000 annually. Permits, licenses, health inspections, annual renewals, $1,500 to $3,000. Miscellaneous, cleaning supplies, smallware replacement, uniforms, $3,000 to $6,000. Total operating expenses at $400,000 revenue, COGS, $88,000 labor, $100,000 rent, $48,000 utilities, $24,000 insurance, $12,000 maintenance, $7,000 marketing, $12,000 processing fees, $11,000 software, $2,000 permits, $2,000 miscellaneous, $4,000 total, $310,000 operating profit before debt service, $90,000. If you borrowed $150,000 to open the shop at 8% interest over 7 years, your annual debt payment is roughly $28,000. Net profit after debt service, $62,000. You are working 60 to 80 hours per week, up at 3 a.m. 6 or 7 days per week, managing staff, ordering supplies, handling customer complaints, and netting $62,000 per year. That is $11.90 to $15.80 per hour for your labor if you work 65 hours per week, 52 weeks per year. This is the reality of owning a small donut shop. The margins look amazing on paper. The actual profit after all costs and your time is modest at best. Now let's talk about what kills donut shops faster than anything else. Location failure. You chose a location that looked good but does not capture morning commuter traffic. Maybe the traffic flow changed, maybe a new development rerouted cars, maybe there is no good left turn access during rush hour. Revenue comes in 30% below projections. You cannot cut rent. You cannot cut enough costs. You slowly bleed cash and close within 18 months. Competition. A Dunkin opens a quarter-mile away. They have drive-thru, brand recognition, and a $15.99 box of 2 dozen donuts promotion you cannot match. Your morning traffic drops by 40%. Or a new independent shop opens with better marketing, better donuts, or a younger, more energetic owner. Your regulars start splitting their visits. Revenue declines. Burnout. The 3 a.m. wake-up, 7 days a week, is not sustainable for most people long-term. You get sick. You are exhausted. You cut corners on quality. Customers notice. Reviews drop. Traffic slows. You are trapped in a cycle where you cannot afford to hire help, but you cannot keep working this schedule. Many donut shop owners sell or close within 3 to 5 years simply because the lifestyle is unsustainable. Ingredient cost spikes. Flour, sugar, and cooking oil prices are volatile. In 2021 to 2022, ingredient costs spiked by 25% to 40% due to supply chain disruptions and inflation. If your COGS jumps from 22% to 30% overnight and you cannot raise prices fast enough, your margin disappears. Equipment failure. Your fryer dies. Replacement cost is $15,000 to $25,000. You do not have the cash. You finance it. Now you have another monthly payment eating into profit. Or your mixer fails, your refrigeration compressor dies, your hood system needs repair. Unexpected capital expenses destroy cash flow in thin-margin businesses. Let's talk about the operators who succeed. They are not running a donut shop. They are running a morning coffee and breakfast destination that happens to feature donuts. They invest in a real espresso program with quality beans, skilled baristas, and specialty drinks. Coffee margins are even better than donut margins, and coffee creates daily habit. A customer who stops for coffee 5 days a week and buys a donut twice a week is more valuable than a customer who buys a dozen donuts once a month. They add breakfast sandwiches, kolaches, burritos, or other morning food items that travel well and have strong margins. Diversifying the menu reduces reliance on donut-only sales. They build a cult local following through consistent quality, community engagement, and unique offerings. They become the place people bring out-of-town guests. They create signature donuts that become Instagram-worthy. They build a brand, not just a product. They optimize operations for efficiency. They dial in production quantities to minimize waste. They cross-utilize ingredients across multiple products. They negotiate supplier contracts for volume pricing. And critically, they have a drive-through or exceptional visibility and access. Successful donut shops generate 60% to 75% of revenue in a 3-hour morning window. If you cannot capture drive-by impulse traffic during that window, you cannot hit the volume you need. Let's run the numbers 2 ways. Best case scenario. You open in a growing suburban area with strong morning commuter traffic and no direct donut competition within 3 miles. You have a drive-through. You build a strong local reputation quickly. Within 12 months, you are averaging 800 donuts per day, 6 days a week, plus strong coffee sales. Annual revenue, $650,000. COGS at 20%, $130,000. Labor, you hire a baker and 2 part-time counter staff, $95,000. Rent, $4,500 per month, $54,000. Utilities, $28,000. Insurance, $13,000. Marketing, $18,000. Maintenance, $12,000. Processing and other costs, $25,000. Total operating expenses, $375,000. Operating profit, $275,000. Debt service, $28,000. Net profit, $247,000. You built a serious small business. You recover your initial investment in under 1 year. By year 3, you are netting $275,000 plus annually after debt payoff. You hire a full-time baker so you do not have to wake up at 3 a.m. You still work 50 hours a week managing, but you are earning a strong income. Realistic scenario. You open in a competitive area. Location is decent but not prime. No drive-through. You average 350 donuts per day. Annual revenue, $280,000. COGS at 24%, $67,200. Labor, you work as baker, 1 part-time counterperson, $22,000. Rent, $42,000. Utilities, $20,000. Insurance, $10,000. Maintenance, $6,000. Marketing, $10,000. Other costs, $18,000. Total expenses, $195,200. Operating profit, $84,800. Debt service, $28,000. Net profit, $56,800. You are netting $56,800 while working 70 hours per week and waking up at 3 a.m. 6 days a week. By year 2, you are exhausted. Revenue has not grown because the market is saturated. You try to sell the business. Buyers offer you $80,000 to $120,000, barely more than your remaining debt and equipment value. You sell at a small loss or break even after 3 years of brutal hours. The difference between those outcomes is location, competition, drive-through access, and execution quality. The donut shop industry generates billions in annual revenue. There are multi-generational family donut shops that have operated profitably for 30-plus years. There are regional chains that built loyal followings and sold for millions. But the median independent donut shop generates $250,000 to $450,000 in annual revenue, operates on 15% to 25% net margins, and requires the owner to work physically demanding hours for modest financial return. The people who succeed love the craft, the community connection, and the predictability. They do not mind the early mornings because they are done by early afternoon. They build relationships with regulars who come in every day for 10 years. They take pride in product quality. The people who fail are the ones who see the 90% gross margins and assume easy money, who underestimate the importance of location, who cannot handle the physical and sleep demands, who do not realize that competing against Dunkin selling a dozen for $9.99 means you need to be dramatically better, not just slightly different. The fryer makes the donuts automatically once you drop the dough, but it does not run the business.